Are you walking, Melissa?
We have lost Sydney again, it looks like.
Okay.
If you would like to, between Vanette and I, we're taking notes for Bruce this week, but I will be taking care of it. But I just want to let you guys know that I believe if you guys want to call the meeting to order, you can. We just won't be able to vote unless we have quorum, and we can reach back out to a couple of these folks.
Okay, well, so I'll call the meeting to order. Great to see you all. So the first item on the agenda is approving the minutes. Oh, we can't vote on that though, because we don't have a quorum.
Here we are. All right. Well, Rachel and I could start with the non-voting aspects of our leadership report, and we could come back to that if it's okay. We also need to approve the agenda, but we'll have to wait till we have another person join us. Do you want to get started, Rachel? And we will.
So for school happenings, this March is a difficult month because there literally are no breaks or no days off. So teachers feel the burn, students feel the burn. So we're trying to do what the best we can to make sure March is exciting. We have a spirit we built into March as well. That kids are going to be able to participate in different things each day. Our vaccine clinics are, well, I'm sorry, that's old, but the idea is that we'll have enough activities in the March month that will get us through. We're already halfway through, but for the second half of the month, we're going to do a lot of activities, events to get students up and running. Another thing that's happening is Park. So Park is going to be in May, but right now we're preparing to get kids ready for Park. So what does that look like? They are, one, we're gonna have a park theme. For example, our last park theme was Knock It Out the Park. There are baseball pictures everywhere, and students were able to like get into the theme. We had class parties and things. So this year we're currently picking the theme for Park so we can get that started as well, which will be a lot of fun from now until May because students get to participate in pep rallies, activities, fun, and games. They get their own personal park book that they're going to be working through until May. So that is what we are looking forward to right now. And as it relates to like school happenings.
All right.
So accelerated learning and our tutors. So right now with City Bridge, we have tutors coming into the building to work with early childhood, K to 2, and then our middle school for math. Right now there are about 20 K to 2 students participating. And there are about 6 tutors who come and pull students in 1 to 2 groups, 1 to 2 people at a time. And then 47 6th through 8th graders who are participating in the math online tutoring. We got, this partnership came from City Bridge when myself and our assistant principal went to a 6-week training to learn about high impact tutoring. Kelly, someone else just entered. Do you want me to keep talking or do we have to go back to the agenda?
I think keep going. We'll get through this and we'll find a natural place to pause if that's okay with you, Sydney, okay. Or Cindy. I'm sorry, actually, I'm going to say, can whoever joined us let us know who they are? Because all we see is a phone number on here. All right, keep going, Rachel, and we will work on it.
Okay. All right. So, so the kids are receiving the tutoring from the program City Bridge that we went to last year, a 6-week program, and now we have tutors galore. We also have some social emotional support learning SEL in place. We are using One Common Unity to support us with a lot of the running emotions in middle school. Then we have a second step curriculum that we use on Wednesdays with kids who that talks about character building and all that good stuff. That is it for the slide, Kelly.
All right. This is some exciting info we have, which is that we are officially, and you guys may have heard, in a kind of new guidance realm and new place for the city. Last week on the 8th, we got information that the mayor was lifting the mask mandate, and now it was going to schools to implement their own position and kind of next steps with layered mitigation. So the city has officially, since February 20th, been in low transmission. We have seen that anecdotally here, which you can see since January 18th, we've only had 4 new cases. We currently have one person out, and that's kind of been our stable. It's been 1 or less per week. We have continued our asymptomatic testing every week, and we have had no positives from that asymptomatic testing, which has been a great sign. And we passed our deadline for all employees being fully boosted and vaccinated. So we are 100% boosted and vaccinated as a staff. Vaccination rates for students remain relatively low in the District of Columbia, but we don't know what our own school rates are right now without access to that system. So DC Health, in partnership with Children's National, is rolling out Doses 2.0, which will roll COVID vaccines into the regular immunization schedule, and will give us access to every child's immunization record, but we don't have it yet. But citywide, the average is about 25% of children between 5 and 11 are vaccinated, and then I believe it's in the 60% for children 12 and above. So the big work we have this spring is increasing those rates. As you saw on the school happenings, that we had a vaccine clinic just last Friday. We will continue to have them every 2 to 3 weeks at our school, because DC Health is open to basically as often as I apply. It seems like they are now setting us up with vaccine clinics. We have hired a vaccine COVID coordinator. Feels a little silly, the timing, and many months delayed, but they will be starting on April 1st and will really be focusing on vaccination and how we get our kiddos in there. We do parent education, we do partnerships, and we really make sure people have the information they need to make our school safe as possible. The big change we want to talk to you guys about is that we would like to align with the mayor's guidance. A lot of schools have done this. DCPS will be creating these changes, will be implementing these changes starting tomorrow. And that was the proposed timeline we actually gave our staff as well, because we knew we'd be meeting with you all today, and it gave us about a week with this new guidance to answer questions, figure out what it would look like. The biggest pieces are that we're going to align prevention methods to the transmission level. Right. So while we might make a couple changes that are implemented while in low transmission, if the city shifts to medium transition, those will all change. And what we'll do is we'll align, the things that we do during different periods of transmission. The first one is removing the recommendation for physical distancing. And this is, again, only if we're in low transmission, but it means students won't be obligated to sit spread apart when they're eating meals, when they're doing classwork. They can do more group work. The second is the flexibility on issuing mask guidance. We did poll our staff last week on this guidance, and it was interesting to see how from the first day we told people to even the conversations we're having today, there was just kind of like shock and surprise at a change, because we have been so habituated to what we're doing. But what we basically found was that about 60% of our teachers were very comfortable, and 30% were really excited about changes like masks becoming optional. And about 30% are just nervous, understandably, right? Like, this is a big change. So what our goal will be, and we want to make sure we answer any questions from you all and think through this, is that today we're communicating, we have been communicating all along, but that while they are still recommended and a great mitigation strategy, masks will be optional starting tomorrow in line with pretty much the rest of the city. In addition to the masking change, it also states very specifically in the new guidance that screening tested is no longer necessary when transmission levels are low. So that would mean the screening testing that we do following breaks. Right now, every student has to turn in a negative test to return from midwinter break, spring break, et cetera. And then our weekly testing, we do PCR testing every Friday for 20 to 30% of our students. And we do staff testing once a week. So every staff member has to turn in a test every Monday morning that it's negative. So our immediate thought is that might not be immediately implemented because of a few complicating factors, but DC Council has in their legislation that through April 1st, weekly testing is required for students. So, you know, there's always kind of competing guidance on this, but we will leave all screening testing in place until at least then. So April 1st, which also gives us about 2 more weeks with some of the other changes implemented first to see if we see any rise in numbers before we start making all of our changes. And then the final big change is a change in these quarantine timelines. And that's something that we heard from the CDC quite a while ago. But it is new to DC health guidance that if you test positive for COVID, you only have a required 5-day quarantine. You must test negative on a rapid test to return after those 5 days. And if you do not, then it is a full 10-day quarantine. Just from our experience so far, the 2 people we've had who've been positive lately were still testing positive 5 days after. So they still had to do the full 10 days. So it hasn't actually been able to be implemented. But additionally, students who are close contacts, unvaccinated, and not eligible for a test to stay program will also now only have 5 days instead of the 10. So we are seeing a big decrease in missed school and missed work with this new guidance, which is really nice. I know there's a lot of information on the slide and a lot of too many words, but you guys can go back and read them. So just to go over the timeline, we got this new guidance on March 8th. We surveyed our staff and talked to the group on March 9th. On March 10th, we informed our families and shared the new guidance with them and let them know that we would be releasing our own guidance this week. We would propose that we remove the physical distancing and mask requirement as of tomorrow, and then we'll stop screening testing as of April 1st. Does anybody have specific questions, general questions, worries about any of these changes? All right. Oh, go ahead.
This is what all schools are doing.
Yes. So DCPS as of tomorrow. So that's, you know, about half of the LEAs that we have in the district will be doing this starting tomorrow. And then honestly, every charter school I've heard is a little different. Some charter schools and childcare centers last week on Tuesday started mask optional and implemented everything immediately. Some charter schools are doing kind of layered approaches. If students are vaccinated, they can become unmasked, or if they're, you know, outside, they become unmasked. And a lot of schools are doing just what we are, which was waiting to implement in line with the broader community, just so that we can kind of all be on the same page.
Can I ask what the downsides or the, you know, considerations for not continuing testing after April?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 ways to look at it. One is that the science is not telling us we need to. And if we're going to try to continue to have our actions be a reflection of, you know, the science and the guidance for us, that would be the reason to align. It's also just time, right? It's time out of the classroom. It's about, you know, 15 to 30 minutes once a week for students that they are out of the classroom to do that weekly testing. And it's just a burden on our staff to do screening. That's not a burden that we're unwilling to keep doing. So I think it's something we're very open to in terms of the large, you know, the large picture. And it's just a question also of resources. So we have not heard about whether or not, we currently are not paying for any of this testing. The Department of Health is providing us with rapid tests every 2 weeks. So my understanding is that they believe that program will continue, but we don't have final word on that. And we also don't have final word on if Shield T3, which is the PCR testing that comes into the building, will continue or not. So those are all funded currently by our city, and we don't know what our continued access will be to those resources. Now, I also want to keep reiterating, I said this to all staff and I'll say to every parent every time, we will never stop, not never. We have no end in sight for the removal of symptomatic testing. So we will continue anytime someone is symptomatic. We currently, a student during school, we give them both a rapid and a PCR test so that we can have immediate information and then really accurate information. And we don't see any signs that will be removed anytime soon. We also still have 7-day-a-week curative testing in front of our school building from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and some days till 8 p.m. for the whole broad community. In my conversations with curative, it doesn't sound like that's going to end anytime soon. But once legislation starts changing and potentially insurance providers are not required to do that free of charge, we might see some of these testing protocols changed. Okay, I'm going to continue. This is basically the message we're sending to parents. It won't have the red lines through it, but we'll show them again. It's not that we're removing all mitigation strategies, right? But we are removing some during periods of low transmission. So we will require vaccines, we'll require our increased hand hygiene, classroom cleaning. We will continue being very vigilant about people staying home if they are sick. So far, we have not revisited cohorting classrooms. So right now, students still stay in very small groups throughout the day, and we don't do any group settings. So there's no group lunch, there's no group activities, but that'll be something we look at in the coming months. Additionally, we still do not have visitors in the building, and our pickup and drop off is outdoors. One of the barriers to that is not a wanting. We would like to have parents in our building and seeing classrooms, but currently DC guidance states that anyone who regularly comes in your building must have shown proof of vaccine. So that would require us to collect proof of vaccine for every parent as well. And that is not quite a task that we have clarity on how we would logistically implement. So for right now, visitors, unless we have proof of vaccine, are outside of the building. All right. Enrollment. Do we want to pause here for a minute and we could go back and approve our minutes and agenda just before we get too far from them? We've got Sydney on the line with us now too. So we are at quorum with 6 board members.
Okay, so yeah, we can go back and approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Or a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all we need to do right now, right, Kelly?
And also the minutes,
Oh,
the January minutes.
okay. It's not on our board agenda, is it?
It's number 3 right here, approved January minutes.
Oh, okay.
Can you guys see my screen still?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All of a sudden I didn't know if I was still displaying. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just a little slow. So do I have a motion to approve the January minutes?
So moved, Katie.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second, Vanette.
Okay. All right, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 All right.
Okay.
I'm moving back along here. All right. Enrollment, it has begun for next school year. This is always the sign that we can't believe it's already time. We have got, so this school year, we have 448 students. Since printing this report last week, we are up from 76 to 89% of our families that have completed their intent to return. We're in the time period where this changes quickly. We only have 2% of families indicating they may not be returning. And I think it's like 8 out of the 12 of them are moving out of state. So these are, not unanticipated or unhappy families, which we're very happy about. We, as of the lottery deadline, have received 233 applications, which is up 30% from last year, which is really great news. We anticipate needing to fill about 70 to 100 seats to meet our enrollment target for next year. We do not anticipate that being an issue, which is really exciting. We are hoping to be at 485 next year, which just gives us a really robust school community. It's a full 2 cohorts in every grade and a 3 cohort system in several grades. So we have a really good system. The new enrollment we're doing this year is for our pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 families into the new program, which we'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes. But we're seeing applications really up from that and a lot of our recruitment work paying off. So in the coming months, what you'll also see is we've got a bunch more advertising happening, continuing past the lottery deadline with our new transitions counselor that helped our 8th graders transition. We've got bus ads and radio ads and some places in the city paper coming out. And hopefully people will start seeing it pop up around the city. So things are looking good there. Compliance and procurement in terms of operations is moving quickly as we prepare for next school year. So I do want to bring a couple of contracts to you all that we are in the final stages of negotiating, but what I'm hoping to get approval from you on is my signature to sign those contracts not to exceed these amounts, because we have our final bids being due to us on March 20th and it's March 15th. So we're very close to being ready to sign those, and we don't want to drag our feet and wait till the May 18th meeting to get approval from you all on those. So I will send you an email with updates, but the 4 contracts that I'm interested in getting approval from you all to sign is one for our pre-K outdoor learning space general contractor. So we are revamping an entire outdoor area of our school for just that new pre-K program. It will have a safe, appropriate play structure, but also a learning environment that our new assistant principal has just led the way on really exciting plans for. It is not to exceed $100,000 and it is entirely grant funded. So this is not cash out the door from us, but we have an outdoor learning space grant that we applied for and got approved, I think last month. So we'll cover that with it. Number 2 is, I want to just talk through them all because they're kind of connected and then we can go through and vote or discuss. Number 2 is pre-K classroom furniture. So part of building out this whole new program is that we are furnishing an entire new program. We do not anticipate and we do not want an approval to have that exceed more than $125,000, which would be around $25,000 per classroom. While we are kind of paying this in advance of having the revenue of running this program ourselves, within 1 year, this program will have paid for itself based on the finances we're looking at. So we are putting a little cash up front prior to having the revenue of this per pupil, but we anticipate it being fully paid for. And I'll show you some plans for those classroom furniture purchases. Additionally, we have more bathroom renovation work done. We have 100,000 of that grant funded right now and in hand ready to spend. And we have more costs than that associated, but I want to come back to you when we have a better idea of exactly what those costs will be. But what I'm hoping is I can get approval from you to sign on for this initial 100,000 so that we can get contract signed, sealed, delivered to get started as soon as we can with the next stage of our bathroom renovations. And number 4 is technology for next year. So every year we kind of need to re-up our fleet of Chromebooks. We are currently operating at a 2-to-1 program for our middle school. So every middle school student has a Chromebook at home and a Chromebook at school. It means they're doing homework, minimal, but sometimes virtual learning at home when they are home for any period of time due to a COVID quarantine or exposure. And then we have a 1-to-1 ratio for all students in kinder through 5th grade. So they have a computer that they use by themselves at school. And every year we're going to have to be supplementing this purchase because some date out after 3 years, we're looking to replace them. And also they get heavy and hard use. So we have 3-year warranties on them all, and we are constantly sending them out, getting them back, sending them out, getting them back. But it's going to be an ongoing expense to keep the technology level where we've gotten it, which is really functional and great right now. What sort of questions do we have on these expenses? And then we'll have to talk a little bit about how we wanted to go through voting.
the 2-to-1 ratio something that's fairly standard across other schools, or where do we stand on that?
Rachel, you could chime in. I think our high performing middle schools and high schools all are that way. I think many middle and high schools perhaps have students who have their own personal computers at home. And what we're trying to do is bridge any gap that any family who does not have that level of access to. But I think you would find that every high performing middle and high school has a home use computer, whether provided by the school or not, and then a school use computer. Because otherwise, and what we found as we reopened after COVID, is we have students traveling on public transportation with them, leaving them on public transportation, not having their computer at school if they've left it at home, and, you know, just interruptions in instruction without kind of fully implementing a 2-to-1. So I would say it's becoming commonplace. I know of middle schools that have been doing it for years, but I would believe, especially with anticipated interruptions, it'll be kind of just the standard.
And the bathroom renovation is actually much more extensive, right?
Yes. So we talked about it a little bit on our finance committee call yesterday, which, so our initial 2 bathrooms that we did and are beautiful and in high use, cost more than $100,000 to do. So I just want to say that this whole project is going to cost a lot more than this. We're looking at spending more like $1 million all in when we go to renovate our 15 bathrooms that need to be renovated. So these ones were really the glaring kind of hole left undone in the 2010 renovation. They had very minimal to no updates in them. So this is kind of a long overdue deferred maintenance issue of investing in all the remaining 15 bathrooms we have in the building, outside of the 2 that we've done so far.
And Kelly, you said, if I remember yesterday, you said this has to be done during the summer, correct?
Yeah, so that is the challenge, and part of what we'll scope out how we can do this with general contractors. And really the next week is that a lot of people will say, yeah, we could do them all at once. But that's a situation we're not super comfortable with, because in the event that they're all not done at the end of a summer, we can't open school. So our plan will likely be to get about 4 done at a time per summer. So it might take a while. And then we could always have 1 to 2 bathrooms closed during school operations. While not ideal, but we cannot have more than 1 or 2 out of commission just with the number of students we have in this building. So yes, summer work and summer work without students here. There's only 3 weeks without any students because we run a summer program, but all in, we only have 9 weeks without regular school operations. So it's a real quick turnaround project that what we saw in the last renovation was heavily impacted by supply demand and staff issues or supply chain. What we're hearing is that is less impactful now, but still impactful. So we have to do a lot of pre-planning and work and getting all our materials ahead of time before we even embark on any of the projects so that it really can happen quick.
Okay, yeah, sounds great. So we need to vote on each contract?
I think so. Or you could vote to approve. Yeah, I think that's up to you guys.
Or could we approve them all? That's what,
I think you could approve them all by name if we just make a motion to approve each of them with the amounts listed in our, specifically in our meeting notes.
okay, so that's what we'll do. Do I have a motion to approve these contracts?
I move to approve the 4 new contracts.
Do I have a
I
second?
second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. All
All right. The only other upcoming ones you will see in May are a few renewals, and also we every couple of years review our food service and our special education related services. So those will be upcoming, but not on the docket yet.
Okay,
Finance, heavily related, but the bottom line here is that our finances are on track. While we, it's been a consistent message through this year. We did have enrollment deficits this year that impacted our budget. We have been able to fill those gaps with ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds. So we are a fully large staffed school, even considering the number of students we have. And the other work we're doing as a finance committee right now is our budget development. So we are reviewing our staffing model, our salaries, our vendor expenses, our revenues, our grants, and we will have a draft budget out to all of you to make sure that we meet our approval deadlines for the PCSB. But generally speaking, we have, there's been a large 5.9% increase proposed by the mayor. It's not passed the DC Council yet, but this is a very substantial increase that should help us continue this elevated level of accelerated learning, and the additional curriculum and just human capital that we're investing while we try to get everything back on track.
Okay.
All right, our academic committee is going to meet after this board meeting, but we do have some whole group updates that also need some votes. So we need to talk about them as a whole group. As we have already been talking about with procurement and elsewhere, the early childhood program is full steam ahead, and we have made some really exciting progress towards that goal. We should
remind everyone that we discontinued our contract with, what's the name of the group?
Apple Tree.
Apple Tree.
Mhm. So yes, we have worked with them for the past 6 years, and about 14 months ago at this point gave them notice that we would be discontinuing our contract with them. So as of 6/30, the end of June, they will have fully transitioned all files to us, cleared all of those classrooms, and we will be running internally our own early childhood program. So this year we had the leader of that program start. So she has been working full time in the preparations and planning, hiring, furniture ordering, and all of these pieces, or designing at this point, not ordering yet. We have our leadership position filled. We have 3 of our teacher positions filled. We have 1 of our instructional aides positions filled, and we have 2 of our support staff positions filled already. So a lot of progress made, but still some vacancies open. We have had some of our own internal staff members who have applied and will be transitioning down next year, which is kind of great for just our continuity. We'll have some brand new employees and some veteran employees of ours who will be a part of this early childhood program. The exterior work and internal classroom work is really exciting that we're doing, because it will be a brand new space for this whole new community. Our recruitment shows that we're going to have full classrooms, a full 4 to 5 classrooms, and lots of interest from parents. So our leader is doing bi-monthly virtual info sessions with families, but they've been well attended, and daily phone calls with 3-year-old parents wanting to know more about it. The item that we have for approval is our amendment to change the assessment with the public charter school board. So we every year, right? It's a little bit in limbo right now, but there is the PMF that rates our school, and included on the PMF is our early childhood assessment. We were previously using the early childhood assessment aligned to Apple Tree's own curriculum. So they have their own locally designed Every Child Ready curriculum and associated assessment. And we will be moving to the new curriculum that has been chosen as creative curriculum, which has some highlights included here, and its associated assessment is TS Gold. I think it is probably the most widely implemented and utilized early childhood assessment. We'll still do a lot of our own internal benchmarking and other assessment work to show progress, but this will be what we propose to the PCSB is on our PMF. It will be literally exchanging 3 words. So it'll go from the Every Child Ready assessment to the TS Gold assessment, and we'll adopt their business rules. So they already have business rules that all the schools who use TS Gold in the city implement, which is, measuring how many points you get for, actually, and previously you didn't get points for the early childhood, but they had a floor and a target that you were trying to reach.
Hey, Kelly, do we expect to see improvement in the test scores in the early with since we taken over the program?
That's the goal. You see Rachel's face?
I can't see it, so okay.
No, she was making a good one.
Definitely the goal. Literally, we want our kids to come out of that pre-K 3, pre-K 4 program, either on grade level for kindergarten for reading or above. Like we don't, and to give you all an example, reading levels start at pre-A and go to Z. In Apple Tree right now, the kids are coming to us on a pre-A. The kids should not come to us on a pre-A if they've been exposed to words in Apple Tree. And Apple Tree is saying that their program is, at Perry Tree is one of the best in the city. But what we're finding is that when their kids come to our kindergarten program, only half of them are prepared. So the goal is that when they leave pre-K 3, pre-K 4, they come to kindergarten ready to learn on grade level and also above grade level. And we would like to see a range and not just everyone on pre-A, if that makes sense. So yes, Darwin, we plan to see changes, big changes coming soon, very soon.
So what does the TS stand for?
That's a great question.
All right, I'm gonna have to look at it. Rachel's gonna Google it.
That's a great question.
I think it's teaching strategies. I know it's teaching strategies gold. I was like, it's in here. Hold on. Teaching strategies gold. And a lot of these early childhood assessments are really a measurement of the teaching strategy and less of the child performance. The same is for class. So we don't have any decision-making on the class observation, which is another assessment that happens that the PCSB has chosen as their assessment method. So they will still come in and do the class assessment, which is an assessment measuring the interactions teachers and children have. It's not an assessment that says like, do all the kids know their letters, right? But what we know as a best practice is that evidence of these teaching strategies creates strong education foundation.
And another thing to note about why we are switching from Apple Tree to TS Gold is because of the class assessment. We want our teachers to be prepared. When the people come in to do the class assessment, we want our teachers to understand the rubric, understand everything about it, and be able to act based on that. And we were having some issues with making sure that happened before. So we want to make sure our teachers are prepared to get the maximum amount of points because we'll deserve them, because that's how, our instruction will be, the caliber of our instruction. We wanted to reflect on the class assessment.
I would assume that now the pre-K teachers will be better able to work closely with the K and up teachers, right? To make sure that their students are prepared for what they're going to see when they go on to kindergarten and above, right?
Absolutely. And so right now, Ms. McCaskill, she's our kindergarten teacher. She has been promoted to assistant principal. She will be over the pre-K 3, pre-K 4 program essentially. And what she will be doing is working with our other assistant principal, Ivy Gallant, very closely to make sure that it's vertically aligned, that whatever we are doing in kindergarten, Ms. McCaskill is making sure that the pre-K 3, pre-K 4 students are prepared for that. And so the school will literally just go from pre-K 3 to 8th grade without any interruptions, without any, extra people involved, so that we are able to have like a smooth, nice, just transition up the ladder.
Have other schools quit Apple Tree?
I don't know that we should discuss it at this.
Okay.
I'm not aware. I think that's a good question for them. They haven't been entirely forthright, but we could inquire.
I don't need to know.
Hey, Kelly and Rachel, I have a question. With the increased students with Apple Tree and the increased students, are we still getting the same type of students that we've been getting in the past with the same issues, or did that increase or would that decline? Or do you know?
When you say issues, are you talking about behavior, academics, or just like period?
Just like period, I mean.
Well, every year we get like a range of students, right? So it's kind of like the cookies always fall where they fall, because there aren't like just one certain type of kid we're getting a range of kids and different on different learning levels, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds. So it's not just one type of student. We get like so many different students. But what's more
Are
important is the
all our
teacher.
kids coming from the same, like, are we getting more kids across the city now, or is it from the, I don't know, maybe the same ward, or
Mhm.
are we
So
getting
far, our
more?
applications have been very consistent. We just saw our first on-demand report, and 48% of the kids are from Ward 5. 20% are from Ward 7, 20% are from Ward 8, and then that remaining 10%, 12% is kind of a smattering. We have stayed really consistent, and that's something I think Rachel and I are really proud and excited about. We have retained over 50% of at-risk students, which is just an indicator from the city that they rely on some sort of community assistance and a sign of a socioeconomic status. We have retained a really consistent homeless population. We've retained a growing English language learner population and a really steady students with disabilities group. So we want to keep serving all those families, right? And we don't want changes to impact that. But we are seeing high demand, which is great. And our goal will be consistently the ability to serve this really wide range, right, of students.
Is our totals higher than most schools in the city? Or like, let's say, of homeless or?
I would say
Special
we are
needs?
in the category of schools that are serving a larger population of at-need students. We are, as soon as you're above 40%, you are a Title I school, which means we receive additional federal funding, having a large portion of students who live below the federal poverty line. We could give you the breakdown. It's really interesting to see. Unfortunately, and what we want to change in this city is that there are less high performing schools with populations like ours, but we are one of them, a high performing school with a large population of diverse students.
Which is great. It's wonderful.
And why are we're all here to do this work. Okay, so if there are not reservations or questions about this shift in assessment language, we do need to vote to change that so that we can submit that to the Public Charter School Board in time for them to change it for next school year.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the new assessment?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. And then this, actually, I should show you this, guys, right now. It's hard to see on here. It might be easier to kind of make sense of it from the live finder, but this is where this is a totally unused space around the outside of our building currently. It's an old sidewalk and like some other random storage materials are there that we are completely recapturing. So it's a really cool investment with grant funding from our city that will be devoted to this outdoor pre-K learning space. And part of this movement to really utilize our whole building. So that this change is also kind of all in line with that greater mission of having this whole school be utilized for education and kind of maximized as the incredible resource that it is. All right, guys, we're getting there. I know we are running on today. The governance committee update, Bruce is not able to join us because he's literally on a flight right now. But we gave you guys a redlined version at our last meeting of proposed bylaw changes. And we are hoping everyone has had ample time now to review those red lines. And then also in the live finder, there is the unredlined, but just new proposed final version that has small changes. The updates since then are simply that it has gone to the Public Charter School Board for review. They have said that they don't see any concerns or questions, and they are so immaterial, our changes, that we don't even need to submit them for a charter amendment. So we will simply, put them in record for ourselves that we have updated and brought to current compliance our bylaws, but we don't have to submit a charter amendment for them because the changes are in line with just regular school operations, basically, is what the PCSB is saying.
Well, that's good.
Yes, that's always good news.
All right. So we have to approve them, right?
Yes.
So do I have a motion to approve the new bylaws?
So moved.
So moved.
There's Harold.
I've been quietly muted for a while. I've heard what you were talking about. I'm juggling a couple of things.
Okay, so we'll say Vanette moved. Harold, do you want a second?
Oh, yes, second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All
Great.
right. So that concludes the business that we were proposing in our leadership update. Obviously, whatever else you guys have, and our next slide is simply questions. But our next board meeting is
May
it says
7th.
May 17th, but it is a Tuesday. For some reason, I thought the 18th was the Tuesday, but May 17th at 9 a.m. The highlight of that meeting will be our budget review and full overview of it, and it will continue to be at the same live broadcast and link. And our last slide here is just any other questions. If there aren't any, I think you guys can move to adjourn, and I will take us off of live stream. And the academic committee has a new link to head over to after this on your calendar.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion.
Okay,
Second.
all right, all in